Sue Netherda. I'm a single mom, and I live here in the central, smack dab middle of Washington, where it's just gorgeous all the time. I get the 4 seasons, and I think my whole life I've been outdoors. And not to say that I like to camp in the snow, because but I do like being outdoors. It has a pattern. Is it just me, or does it have a pattern? Would you look at that? Stems. I was like, what? Let me see. And I've had a lot of different jobs, and they all led me to helping people. And the most excitement I feel is when I see people discover their best self, when I see them realize that they are made for more. And there's a freedom that comes with finding out who you really are. I really love helping capture that in people. I had an experience when I was 10, and I had gone inner tubing by myself to come upon a log jam. Try to decide if I could, in my mind, jump off, go over the logs, and get back on the inner tube somehow. Of course, that's a 10-year-old mentality, right? But it didn't happen, and what happened was the inner tube and I went under and got sucked under. I was forced to the bottom. I don't remember seeing the inner tube anymore, but I remember just laying, literally feeling my back on the bottom of the river and looking up to the top of the water, and it was beautiful. The lights kind of reflecting on the top of the water. That's when I heard, you're made for more. So the total outcome of that, the actual story, or the thing that came from that, being I am made for more, meaning you are made for more, we are all made for more, stuck with me. And what I realized was that there was something bigger, and that there was a purpose for each of us. And I knew that there was a way that I could not only help myself, but help others to find that in them. My story begins in a middle-class family, growing up in outdoors, loving nature, and like you saw in the video, just loving to be outdoors and learning to get connected and serving people really most of my life. Even when I had these, we're going to talk about struggle today, and we're probably going to talk about overcoming that struggle. And I think even before I realized that there was some things I needed to work on, I still was trying to help people. I was still trying to serve people. So I went from being in the fitness industry, nutrition industry. That was something that I enjoyed, and I was good at helping people. And that was it's always fun. It's always fun to see people have a change that's positive in their lives. You can't, that's no way to beat that. So that's, I guess that's where my story began anyway, is just having a love for seeing people change. And then realizing that I'm the one that needed to be doing the changing instead of trying to change everybody around me.
Like, what caused that shift for you? What caused you to look or go within that you didn't go without?
So, so we were talking about, we've talked about this before with books that we've read, and it didn't connect until I was thinking about the time that I was laying on the bottom of the river, just looking up and hearing the words coming from somewhere, I believe God, that you are made for more. And at that same time, I didn't realize that was about the same time that I had been introduced to erroneous zones, Wayne Dyer. And I had also been searching the universe or my source, a God. Is there one? Does it exist? Am I really made for more? What does this all mean? So that started to turn me. The interesting point is it didn't change, speaking of couples, it didn't change who I was attracted to. Or what I drew to me, I guess I should say, because even though I knew I was made for more, and I knew there was a purpose, I still did not draw to me somebody that was extremely healthy. And so, for the couples out there, I guess I'm I'm the one to tell you what not to do. But, and again, you know, but at the same time, I can look back. I was in a very abusive marriage for 8 years, and one of my sons was nearly killed. So it was intense. And I can look back now and say, wow, I learned so much. I've grown so much. And my favorite saying is aphorism. I don't know if you've heard, you probably haven't heard that before, but the letters stand for everything happens for a reason, and it serves me. And that's what I believe to be true. And I look back with some of the things I've gone through and some of the things I've worked through, some of the things, most of the things I've learned from other people and read and just took action on have changed the very core of how I feel about everything. My perception changes. So then I can look back and say, oh, wow, I can't get angry or upset or anything because everything happens for a reason. And what can I take from that? What can I learn from that? Because it really does. Everything is just like happening at all times, you know, and I don't know the philosophy. I can't get into that, you know, because we could probably talk for hours on just that alone of why. Is it orchestrated? Is it, you know, how does that work? But I do know that I was searching, and when we're searching and then we pay attention to how we feel and then we act, that's how change occurs, and that's how we grow. So I like those three. Again, you'll hear me talk about a lot of words, but to seek, to feel, and to act are just three, you know, motions that we need to take all the time. And feeling is about, you know, seeking is about ourselves again, right? Something from the inside. So anyway, that's where my story began and kind of has been evolving ever since. You know, I still feel like, you know, we're all on a journey, that our story is constantly being unfolded. And with that story, we can say I picture it like bookshelves, okay? We've got stories, and we can always take down the story that doesn't do us justice, that doesn't serve us, that doesn't help us. And we can rewrite our own story in a more positive way. So I think it's the book, Psycho-Cybernetics. I don't know if you've read that one. That's one that really opened my mind to realizing I don't have to live with a story that doesn't fit for me. And I don't have to live in that past, you know, like driving looking in your rearview mirror, you know, that just doesn't work. So we can take down those stories and change those at any time. So, you know, like the underlying, I guess I should clarify, because the underlying story of me, that doesn't change. But the way I perceive how the story went is what does change, you know, as we gain more wisdom about life and about truth. So anyway.
It's fascinating what you just said, right? The story doesn't change, but the storyteller, right, evolves, and therefore the story evolves because of the storyteller evolving.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Yeah, that's exactly, yeah, that's it. And, you know, that saying, you know, if you change the way you look at things, then the things you look at change. It's really, here's another loop for us. On my mastermind this morning, we were talking about loops, and, you know, and that's a loop right there. You know, you know, when you change the way you look at something, that something really does change. And so you need to, you know, so for couples and for relationships, changing the way we look at ourselves changes the way others see us, and changes the way they look at themselves at times too. So
this is almost in that quantum realm, isn't it? Where the experimenter is now in a measurable way affecting the experiment.
That's cool that you say quantum, because there's another favorite word of mine. In my certifications as a PTSD intervention specialist, we work with the brain. And Quantum Doctor is a book that is just fascinating. It's with all the studies that are happening right now are just shifting our whole reality about what the brain is and how it works. And quantum is so neat. My favorite quantum physics theory that was proven, this blows my mind, was tennis players, two tennis players, really good athletes, both with positive mindsets. You know, they're working out all the time, right? They're on, I'm making this story long and I don't need to. They're on the court. The ball comes over the net they're, you know, the scientists are testing the speed of that ball. And the guy on the other side of the net that's going for that ball literally slows the ball down with his, well, this is what they think is slowing it down, with his thought process, because he has a desire to get the ball, and he believes he will get that ball. And so the ball slows down. That's their theory of what they think happens. But the ball absolutely slowed down the minute he put his attention on it and went for it. That's cool to me. That's quantum, you know. And we've gone past that with like nanotechnology. We can see like scans of the brain now. And now we've stepped into micro, which is even deeper than nano, which just blows me away. So we're looking at consciousness, you know, so that's a whole other area we could totally delve into. And that excites me because it's things that are within me that I believe already, you know. And so it's neat to see science is stepping forward and actually finding some of this to be true, that we are connected, that what I do affects what you're doing, that what I think actually affects the people around me. So being in a state of love, in a state of joy, in a state of positive is what's going to affect and change the whole world by what we're doing, what we're thinking. So I think I believe it, even if I sound like I'm crazy.
No, not at all. Not with me. I have a way I think of things, which is like the known, right? These things we know. And then there's the unknown. We can study these things. We can pull them into the known, right? We get our credentials and we know this thing. Yeah. There's a much bigger thing, which to me is about 90% of my experience. I call it the unknowable. And these words like quantum seem to be reaching into a 90% unknowable. So I'm curious with the next question. What does the word quantum mean to you? Like, is there a simple definition for you and the work you're doing, especially with the PTSD, right? Post-traumatic stress disorder work, that the quantum is understandable? It's known, I guess. How do you know the unknowable with this word quantum?
So two words that came to my mind when you said that were flow, which we all hear that word flow. The flow, like in the flow, you know, a lot of people, like athletes, want to be in the flow. That's one word. The other one is infinite. Because so with the flow, I think the goal is with quantum. When we're in the flow, we're present. We're absolutely present. We're not worried. The ego's not stepping in. There's no story playing in our head. There's nobody talking. We're just moving forward. We're just doing. And that's the goal, I think, for everybody. I think everybody wants joy and everybody wants to be in the moment. And so I think for me, that's what quantum is the flow. Because and I do, this is really, I believe we know. I believe there's something inside us, that's the infinite, that does know. And so when these ideas come to us or we hear something, it's as if we're remembering it rather than learning it. And that's the knowing. That's, you know, and so to me that infinite, because I believe, like Wayne Dyer says, we're an infinite being having an earthly experience at this time. And so we're infinite. We came from somewhere, we're going somewhere, you know, and we're just having this physical experience right now. So in the infinite, that's what quantum, you know, means to me, that unknowing, like you said, we are finding out. What I think is going to happen is as we find that out, it's just going to expand, because that's part of infinity too, you know, the infinite expands. And so as, you know, just like as we look and we have a better microscope to look into the universe, there's more, you know, and then we have to get this better microscope so we can look further. And oh my goodness, there's more, you know, and I think that's to me, that's quantum means all that. You're talking about when shifts occurred for me, when I started to realize that as I seek and feel and act, things change. That 4-hour work week talked about systems. Rich Dad, Poor Dad talked about systems in which you feel like you're doing less, but it's creating more. Those were things I couldn't grasp. And part of the flow or the water is, do we want to be liquid or do we want to be solid? Do we want to be a brick, or do we want to be liquid? And I choose liquid. And I think if you're going to be in the flow as a river flows, you know, would you rather be the rock in the river or the river flowing, you know? And so for me, liquid. So you'll hear people say, if you're someone that's liquid, you will get judgment. You'll hear people say, you're too sensitive, you know, or, you know, what makes you think you can do that? Or you'll hear that kind of judgment when you're liquid. And I think for me, it's like, it's okay to be sensitive. And I think maybe it's American culture, I'm not sure, but that we're taught that, you know, we have to all act a certain way and we all have to be a certain way. And there's a time and a place for everything. And I think that we haven't given ourselves enough freedom to feel and to be sensitive, because there's where awareness comes. There's where we get to go in, and there's where our knower steps up and says, oh yeah, I already know this. I can do this. Everything that I need is right there.
How did the flow show up for you there? How did the quantum show up for you there in that experience, your first-hand personal experience? And then like, what happened next? You know, how did that lead into doing PTSD work, post-traumatic stress disorder work?
Laying there without any fear. There was absolutely no fear. I wasn't afraid of anything. I could hear the, you know, everything slowed down. So now understanding PTSD and having episodes, I totally get that. There's trauma. We're not just talking military, but we're talking trauma. When someone goes into something that is life-threatening, usually because of adrenaline, everything slows down. And so that's what happened. I was there on the bottom. It felt like an eternity. Like I should have drowned, you know. In my own mind, I'm laying there going, I guess maybe this is what it is. Maybe I will, maybe this is death, or maybe I'm dying right now. But, you know, that's probably why that statement came back to me. But I was like, feeling and watching at the beauty of, I remember laying there going, wow, that's just beautiful. And the sounds and the colors and everything. Maybe that's when detail came into play for me too. It was just like, you know, there's a lot to be grateful for. I think that came to me too, was that, wow, all of this, I think that might've been what I was thinking, all of this, and I might be dead and it's okay. You know, it was just, that whole experience was like, and then to come, okay, here's the other part. I didn't say in the video, but when I did come out, suddenly, okay, so I'm on the ground, it's in slow motion, and then I don't remember in between. I've been working on that. Suddenly now I'm up on the ground past the log jam, because it went under a log jam. The inner tube popped, you know, the inner tube was gone, and now I'm on the bottom of the ground thinking I'm drowning. Then all of a sudden now I'm out on the ground. And I'm laying there just, you know, looking up again, thinking, wow, that was interesting. You know, that was really cool. And all I could hear was, you are made for more. So in my mind, I'm like, wow, there's something I'm supposed to do. You know, and as a 10-year-old, I didn't think anything like tremendously, you know, like maybe some child would go, I've got this mission, you know, but I don't remember doing that. I just remember thinking, hey, I'm made for more. So regardless of what happened in my past, which was very dark up to the time I was probably 7, well, regardless of what happened then, this was like a shift for me to realize that the flow, again, is happening all the time. And we get to receive it, or we get to push it away. That's just, you know, we either block it, you know, by but it's really always, the flow is always there. And the knowing is always there. So that was, you know, and then my inner tube was right there, like not very far down from me, stuck, you know, on the side. So I got back on my inner tube and just floated down the river. The funny thing is too, is that river, they're graded. You know, I grew up around rivers because of my dad being with the fisheries. They're graded on how dangerous they are. And that particular one was like one of the most dangerous rivers in the world. And here I was going all the time, 9 and 10, 11 years old by myself. it's like, hello, you know, when I had children, you know, that was a little different, but yeah. So anyway, that's the flow. That was the flow for me anyway, for that.
Yeah, you learned, as you said earlier, to be liquid rather than a fluid.
Yep. And to be a little bit, I think the other thing that all of us could learn is we can be who we are. It's all right. I had a friend tell me that I fly. You can, you know, she kept saying, you need to fly. You can go ahead and fly. You've heard that, build your wings on the way down, take the jump, take the leap, build your airplane while you're in the air, you know, those kinds of things. But she said, you fly, but you're not a bird. You're a penguin, you know, like you fly differently. And so I think that, and that's okay too. In a different frame of mind, maybe you would take that offensively. You know, maybe someone would go, oh, I'm not a bird, you know, and get upset, but it's okay. It's okay to be who you really are and to find out who that is so that you can be truly at peace. You know, it's a great thing to do.
So then in terms of bringing it full circle and in thinking of couples building together, with your rich experience, Lori Sue, what advice would you have to give to couples who are building together?
Let's see, I actually wrote down a couple things because, you know, again, love in a couple relationship, it is spelled T-I-M-E. It really is spending time together. It doesn't mean all the time, but it does mean spending time and quality time. So it doesn't have, you know, for some people, that doesn't mean you spend days and days and days, but that you spend quality time, that you make that time count. And I think that has to be intentional. I think you have to make that decision together. And then the other big part of that is, and even actually big for all of us in any relationship, especially couples, is work on yourself. Really go inside, and as you progress, change, evolve, become a better and better person, working on yourself rather than reach out trying to fix other people, you just change the way your relationship is, and you'll change your household, you'll change the community around you. So, and there's a system too, you know, system almost means rituals to me. Like if you can create rituals in your, and which some of us call traditions too, in your relationship that are working, that relationship is going to continue to flourish. It's going to continue to get better. Some I would recommend every 90 days, you've got to, you know, get away, if not sooner, but every 90 days for sure as a couple, you have got to get away from everything and disconnect, unplug, and be just with each other. And so you can rekindle and refresh and recharge, you know? I have friends of mine that do that on a monthly basis. They take just a weekend and they just go somewhere. And I've seen how that really creates unity and greater love in their relationship, which means in a system, if you're working together, that means you're going to have greater working potential, you know, greater creativity coming to the greater inspiration coming to the table for your business to grow at an even better rate. So it all works.
Yeah, that brings it full circle. And then in the discussion that you and I shared earlier before we started recording, you mentioned the words triumph and conquering. And as I like to say, together we overcome. You helped me expand the overcoming to include those words as well, right? To triumph and to conquer.
Yeah, I like your together or not at all. I like that statement too. That means because we're better together. And like, you know, when I tell my story, the things that have occurred for all of us as we grow and become better, it isn't about me, you know, even though I say go inside, work on yourself, but it really is a collective growth. We do so much better when we're connected with other people and we're working together. Yeah, it works really good. The other word is harmony that I think of in my studies and understanding now of the brain and the mind. You know, on my Think and Grow Rich mastermind that we do, we talk about the mind, and we want our mind to say good things to help us. But in the science of things and what we're discovering is that the brain is separate from the mind. And the brain is that zone or flow. It just wants to move us forward. It wants to just go and not make, not take any other steps to the side. Just get it done, And the mind steps in with stories and with worries and with fear. And to bring those into harmony, a lot of times it takes clearing out the brain, clearing out some of those patterns, clearing out some of those stories, so that we can, like I was saying earlier, we take those ones off the shelf and rewrite the story so that the mind and the brain come into harmony with each other. So, and I think that's crucial. Then we can truly step forward and conquer. We can, as a united team, I don't know, conquer together. Like you said, together. It's a good word.
Fantastic. Wow, thank you. I mean, that really makes sense the way you described it, that together is an internal coming together, whether it's our mind and our brain coming together in a way that internally we are whole, or as you said, in couples with another, right? These mechanisms, rituals, traditions, and that there's an element of something that is better together, right? And each of us has some experience of that, where things can be wonderful on our own, and yet coming together and being able to overcome, conquer, and triumph together is it's just a whole nother experience. So for now, thank you so much, Lori Sue. Your rich experience and your wisdom in applying it, living it, acting it, not just speaking it, is crystal clear from beginning to end. And I just want to thank you really deeply for what you shared with us today.
Well, I appreciate you. Thanks for having this call, inviting me on it, and having this movement or this mission that you're on. I just commend you on that. I think it's awesome, and I love your energy. You can feel it. I can feel it through your videos when I watch the other ones and the other couples that are involved. It's just awesome. Keep doing what you're doing.
It's a wonderful coming together, essentially, through these interviews and through additional people like yourself, adding your story to the story of the others. So thank you, thank you, thank you. For now, from Norway all the way to Wenatchee, Washington State, USA, I'll be saying bye-bye, Lori Sue.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.